Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use, tips a balance in favor of fair use. Okay, guys, so I am going to share this Reddit post, and trigger warning, it does contain some difficult subjects. I do think it touches on sexual abuse of children. So if that's too hard for you to listen to, you can turn it off. And another thing that I've noticed about the Reddits is that there's a lot of handlers that try to go in there and change it. So I don't really post in there. So here we go. In hindsight, what was the most damaging training you received at the cult of Scientology or at an applied scholastic school? In my opinion, the most damaging is hardest to see because it's those things that sort of gaslight the rest. I don't know how to explain. I felt damaged by the little by little indoctrination as a kid that somehow I was better than a WOG or any non-Scientologist. Everyone in our lives, teachers, doctors, tax preparers, was a Scientologist. It's also a form of isolation. I was scared to have friends who weren't Scientologists and refused to go to public school because I thought they would drug me or have me locked up by psychiatry. That's the fear right there. This fear of outside people pulled me deeper and deeper in and made it harder and harder to leave as I got older. But in all my training, I couldn't say specifically where that indoctrination came from. I think it's just a part of the culture developed out of taking every word LRH said as sort of gospel, which was obviously intended to brainwash. Response. By the way, it's a deleted account, because you know what goes on in that Reddit. Totally makes sense to me. When I graduated Delphi and I went to college, I was 100% sure my first roommate I was assigned in college dorms was going to go insane and try to blank me because I saw that she was on psychiatric medication for her anxiety. In hindsight, that's such a delusional fear to have. Also the fear that if you ever speak out or turn or challenge a concept, you risk being declared and losing everyone you love. That's how they keep people in. I guess the concepts around suppressive people and declaring is perhaps almost the most damaging. It's not just individuals who are affected, but entire families are often ruined. The fear of that chaos is also what keeps you from ever leaving. Thank you for sharing. V. Snow replies, "Oh yes, definitely the non-existent disconnection policy is a bad one. The whole ethics enforcement thing was bad on so many levels. We're talking about these people being in Scientology as children. I was sent to ethics by my parents for every little misbehavior starting as a toddler, and I couldn't complain or I would just perpetuate the punishments. Friends sent off to boarding schools or the ranch and eventually declared if they didn't conform, so I just became the most perfect little angel Scientologist for fear of losing my family." Imagine if they didn't have people's families to blackmail. I wonder what would happen. We all know. And at this rate, with all the knowledge out there, I have zero, absolutely, I probably have negative zero respect for anybody following anything Scientology. I mean, once you get out, like if you're in it, I do understand that. But once you get out, if you're still following it, I have zero respect for you. Negative zero. Okay, this is the other deleted account that replies. Or I think it was the initial deleted account. I'll go first. TRs. I never did TRs at the cult, but had OT8 supervisors at Delphi, Oregon. Listen very closely here. Delphi, Oregon's one of their Scientology schools. I started doing the basic levels at age 12. Then, by 14, they had me doing all of them, even advanced ones. I had to do all of them, 1 through 8, I believe. Every single summer as a part of working to train as a camp counselor or intern before students arrived. Hold on. I really thought I was learning something useful at the time. But in hindsight, having to sit without moving slightly for hours or flunk and redo it was absolute torture. So they make these children sit in these chairs without moving. That's fucking torture, like mind control stuff there. It's like prisoner stuff. As a female, men, my twin, and male supervisors, listen up here, guys. More sex abuse. Would hurl horrible slurs or insults at me or touch me sexually. She's 12 or 13 years old, you guys. Don't ever let me in one of those buildings, man. I'll be going in, but I won't be coming out. Slurs or insults at me or touch me sexually in attempts to bull bait me. One specific memory I have is my supervisor. I'm going to read that again in case all the dumb motherfuckers can't understand what that means. One specific memory I have is my supervisor asking me if I was out 2D with my boyfriend at the time, and graphically describing what his penis probably looked like, and how much I would enjoy seeing it and touching it. She's 12 or 13, you guys. I don't even know why she has a boyfriend at that age either. But that's what they do in Scientology. Because children aren't children, they're adults in small bodies, right? This was a man in his 40s. In case nobody heard that, this was a man in his 40s. Pedophile haven, anyone? Who still works at the school as a recruiter. Oh, wow! So he's still doing that to the children, the little girls. I'm not going to repeat what I just said to you guys. This was a man in his 40s who still works at the school as a recruiter, talking to a teenage girl alone in a room together. This is what the Rinders and the Revenues and all that are. They're protecting this. I remember him flunking me because I was blushing from horror and embarrassment. That's sexual abuse. So to squash the button, he just kept repeating it over and over again until I could stomach it without a reaction. Want to know, too, more about the women who do the bull baiting. Are they doing the same repugnant stuff? I know Aaron Smith-Levin mentioned one lady. I don't know how old she was, but she was basically having sex with everyone that she audited. Sick. But also, all this abuse just messes people up. So that's really sick, but she was probably very badly abused, too. The TR drills are where I feel majority of the numbing, brainwashing, and trauma began to really take place. I forgot what the TR stands for. I didn't even remember how horrible they were until I watched Louis Theroux's documentary, and it unlocked all these suppressed memories. Why did I need to be trained on physically forcing someone to touch a wall to be a summer camp counselor? Why did I have to scream at ashtrays to sit down and take turns intimidating, humiliating, and bullying my twin with the harshest things we could think of? Has anyone found any psychological analyses on the impact this training has had on people, especially children in the long run? Yeah, that's a good question, but I have a funny feeling there's probably no research, because when these perpetrators are trying so hard to hide all of it, they don't want other people knowing what they're doing. Unless they're doing internal studies, because it really is mind control program. Fair Game Sunshine, ex-Sea Org responds. The situation with the TR3 bull bait in a school environment and sexual touching should be covered in the state laws about minors and teachers. Yeah. That shouldn't have happened and was definitely not allowed in the place I started Scientology in. I know that seems a little weird to me. You could take that to court, I believe. Lots of cover-up. There's so much cover-up. It's unreal. Looks like Maggie responds. I'm really glad I read this. I have friends who went to this school and whose parents, to my knowledge, still are very involved in it. Gives me a lot of empathy for those that have cut ties with me. I'm fucking scared of that cult, though. I'll tell you what, I won't be engaging in the future friendships with those still involved. Sucks, but it's true. Sorry, you guys, I got a little off track because on the side there's these various, I think, controlled opposition, plant type, render types, putting a lot of garbage in here. And also, too, they're all stuck in the 1982, so. Everybody's ignoring it. Okay, Dapper Blueberry 137 responds. What years were you there? Deleted account responds. 04 to 09, so she was there 5 years. Also, that deleted account probably was getting bullying. You see, these cringe, scum, vile filth don't want people knowing what's going on with the children. But guess what? It's too late. Xanax Rita responds. That was mental torture, sexual assault, and sexual harassment you endured. It's sexual abuse, too. I am sorry that happened to you. Stories like this make my blood boil. The boy who sexually touched you did not do it because he was trying to bull bait you. He did it because he's a predator. I wonder how old that guy was. Well, and they're teaching predatory behaviors, of course. In fairness, I am new to the study of the abuses in Scientology. I honestly don't know what bull baiting is. My point being it was a false motive. He just wanted to touch you. I could be wrong. Would you mind explaining bull baiting? Green West 7. I have about 100 answers to this question, and even with regular sessions with my therapist, I'm not sure I'll be able to tell her everything that did go down while I was involved. One thing that comes to mind is the idea that anyone on medication for any mental health issues is bad. evil, insane, can't be trusted, going to blank me or others, etc. That concept is so drilled in your brain that even after being out for years, I still have to consciously remind myself that it's not true. And you know what's crazy about that? LRH was the biggest drug addict ever. It's sickening. I know it's mentioned here already, but also the idea that all public schools will drug all children. What is it? There's a shred of truth to that. It's so ridiculous, but I really thought for a long time, if you sent your kids to public school, they'd end up on bad medication. There's a little bit of truth to that, I have to be honest with that one. The whole idea of all their mental health ideas just makes me sick. Dog stilts. WOG. My wife says it was a constant idea that you bring everything in and you postulate everything, which implies that you're responsible for control everything, which really shattered her perception of the way the world works when both of her OT5 parents died young. Some of her siblings still think they're successful because they didn't choose to be poor. Yeah, a lot of these Scientologists die young. Is it any wonder? Being worked all those hours, not being allowed to take medication or go to the doctor. And I think some people go to the doctor like on the sly, and it's, not all of them, and also people are not taking care of themselves. They're not eating right. A lot of them are being starved half to death, basically, to include the children that nobody seems to care about. Moreover, my mom relied on church ethics for way too much. Anytime there were behavioral issues with my sibling and I, she would always just route us to ethics instead of talking it out or whatever. I don't even know what normal parents would do. Whenever we would get into a serious argument, she would either stop it with a punishment and no resolution or send us to ethics. She would also never open up to either of us about anything going on in her life. I assume because she would only be willing to tell her auditor or husband. Definitely resulted in intimacy issues with my partner later on, in my opinion. Imagine if Scientology took over the world in an alternate universe. It would be an incredibly dysfunctional society. Criminal. Deleted account response. Oh, I had to do liability conditions several times a year. It was mortifying to have to go around and collect signatures to be accepted back into the group. Yeah, they're big on that. That's that hive mind stuff. It's sick. Some assholes had the nerve to sign disapproved. It sounds like, you know who. And say you didn't make up the damage enough, just to make it seem like they take the text so seriously. But almost always people would sign approved. I'm so sorry to hear that your own mom would route you to ethics like that and be so distant. My opinion, too, and I'm not a parent, so maybe I don't have the right to really be responding so much, but I think my parents weren't really like that. My dad was a little mean, but I think anybody who's willing to do that with their children, my opinion is that they're more narcissistic. Because if you don't have any compassion or empathy, that's what you would do. I mean, and I don't think every single Scientology parent is a full-blown narcissist. And every single situation is different. So they all have different, it's not all they're not all auditing in the anyways, as far as I know. Deleted account. As a student of Greenfield School near East Grinstead, I can't say it damaged me. Okay. I always get nervous with stuff like that. Yes, it made me distrust people and organizations. Yes, it made me hate the cult of Scientology. Yes, it made me have the skills to get people out of cults sometimes. The damage it did, the sadness of seeing my school friends all end up in the Sea Org and waste their life with a load of bullshit. 30 years later, some of my friends are still effed up. Dan, I'm looking at you, you alcoholic racist piece of shit. You have a way to go to become human again. I hope you get there. I doubt it. Greenfields, you're a fucking disgrace. I don't even know. That's another one of their 6 schools, I guess. Dapper Blueberry. This is long. Dapper Blueberry 137, being the only WOG, which I think is really disgraceful to say that, but at the Delphian school, batshit crazy fuckers, poverty for Zeno. Somebody responded, deleted, responded, which Delphian school, Dapper Blueberry. I meant WOG, 85 to 87. And then delete a respond. I was one of the only WOGs at Greenfield School in UK. Child abuse. Yes. This hat mommy. I had to do TRs for hours at a time the first 20 years of my life. I still stutter. I can't think of an answer that quickly. These communication drills are physical abuse. No doubt, and they don't work, even if you spend your life yelling at an ashtray or staring at another person in a chair uncomfortably. Follow Reborn posts. Sec checking, definitely the interrog. I don't know what that is. Oh, I mean sec checks. Or if we want to get really meta, my very first Scientology win in session. Deleted. I only had to do one of those, I believe. Is that where they ask you really personal questions, including if you use pornography or not? They're obsessed with sex, that's for sure. Very sick stuff. Sick. Sick. So I just can't give, like, a pass to people. Oh, they were under mind control. You and I both know any parents that gave any kind of care for their children would have just gotten their children and just left. I don't care if you get fair gamed. Move them out to the country and show them what a country boy or a country woman is going to do when they come to your house. That's all I'm saying. So that's one for today. I'm going to probably be reading more later, and I hope you guys have a good day or a good night. I'll put the link in the description. Peace.